Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Teresa Kenny, and I am going to be your instructor in the Digital Vector Design class, GD 1500. This is a fully online class, and I feel that it's very important for you that we go over everything in the class and kind of where you can find things. And you'll see that I'll be doing that again and again when it comes to each of the modules. So the first thing you're going to need to do is go into Canvas and go into the course. So here we can see GD 1500 Vector Design Online. I'm in the home position. These are the modules. So if I click on modules, it doesn't really change much, does it? So that's what we can see, all of our different types of modules. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll turn down this first module. This is the enrollment agreement. This is something that you have to click onto and you have to sign, except that you are going to be a member of the course. That has to be done within the first 2 weeks of class. So by the second Friday, if this has not been done, then the registrar assumes that you don't really want to take the course. So just remember to go in there and get that done right away. The next thing you're going to see is a welcome to the course. Now, we're in the process of building a new syllabi called CourseLeaf Syll, and that's going to be right here. So even though this has a little syllabus marker, I'm hoping I can link that new CourseLeaf syllabi right to here. So you should be able to link into that. The next area is the Pray and Chat. So this is an area where we will be posting some information about maybe things that we would like to, that we're concerned about. Definitely a good area for you to access. And I will also be posting things in there. And it's kind of like a discussion group, if you will. And then this is through the Canvas resource organization. This is where you can find information and then also the alternative format for students. All right. The next module down is the first module in the course. This is called Craft Your Own Brand. So in this area, we're going to start to learn some of the beginning tools in Illustrator. So if we go into the overview, you're going to see that I have a faith connection here. And then I go into a description of what is a vector. And so vector is the basic architecture of the Illustrator program. And what vector means is that it's basically a mathematical way to make shapes. And so what's wonderful about them is that they're eminently resizable, so they can get really big and really small. And there's going to be some more videos that we're going to look at later on that will definitely help you understand what vector is. And you will be doing a very short project in here, and I call it the monogram logo, and there's a rough draft and there's a final. And you'll notice here that if you clicked on here, you'll notice you get the little hand that allows you to go directly to the actual project, where the Dropbox where you would upload that project. So let's go back out and let's go down to the next thing. So the next thing is vectors. What are they and how to use them? So again, this is a description of how vectors work. And they basically create shapes. You use these particular tools, and then every one of these, you'll notice there's a little link. So you can link onto this and it'll take you directly to the Adobe site. And it really helps you a lot with how to understand that particular tool. But in addition to that, I've added a series of different tools that talk about what is the difference between a vector and a rastered file. So a rastered file would be something like you see on your phone, like a photograph, where a vector file is a little bit different than that. Also, there's some really nice overviews of Adobe Illustrator. So I highly encourage you to watch all of these little videos on the differences between raster and vector, and also how to sketch. And they're going to be in here for the whole semester. So if you want to go back in and watch them again, you definitely can. And then the next piece is going to be file formats in Illustrator. So file formats are a little bit different. And so this again talks to us about what is the difference between AI, Adobe Illustrator, EPS, PDF, Portament document file, and an SVG file. So this is very short. It just walks you through the different file formats so that you understand why you would use one file format over another. Very simple, easy to follow. You can watch more than once. And that'll take us right to our project. So here's the Unit 1 project, and there's our, this is our PDF for the project right here. So if I click on this, it's a little bit laggy, but it should come up, and there it is, and it talks to us about what it is you'll be doing. So here we have, you know, our description, and you will be making a logo or monogram, and it tells you what type to use, what, you know, file, color profile to use, everything you need to know, and pretty much how this all works, how to add your typography, how to refine it, and so on. So this is your description. And if we get out of there and we go to the next, what's underneath it, under the project, you'll notice that here's a click guide, and then here's an overview of the project, a little bit more about just getting into Illustrator, and here's me actually doing the project. So you can watch me step by step, literally making the project. So I'm making it with my initials and showing you kind of how to do it. And then this is also another demo that was by another teacher that also teaches this course on how to make this particular project. And then I've included these file formats again, just in case you didn't watch it. And then this is a little bit more advanced in exporting of different kinds of files. So again, watch all of the videos. They're there to help you. So we have our overview. This is me actually doing the project. So, you know, how do you get into Illustrator? Where do you find everything? What is it all like? Where's our toolbar, our palettes, our workspace, and then here we go into different file formats. And then I also go into how to save these files. So let's go back out again. And in the next section, this is our version 1. So this is our rough draft. So you'll see that you have a lot of rough drafts. Those rough drafts are pass-fail. So if you hand it in by the 31st, you get 100 points. You get 100%. So it's 10 points, which equals 100%. If you hand it in late, you would get a 0. So you definitely need to be on time because this is an online class and we don't have meetings. You're going to spend that time like watching these videos and listening to the video lectures and then going ahead and doing the project. The next piece is the final, and that would be due on the 7th. Okay, so let's go back up and go to craft our next area, which is Unit 2, and that would be to craft your own hero. So one of the things that we're going to be doing in this course is a lot of technology courses just give you a couple of projects, and at the end of the semester you say to yourself, I guess I learned some things, but I don't know that I really remember them. And I've been teaching Illustrator and InDesign for over 20 plus years, and I've seen what works and what doesn't work. And what I realized is that students need to have something that's a little bit more filled with their own voice. So instead of me just giving you some sort of mundane projects, we are going to do this project where you are going to create your own children's book. In the past, we've done comic books, we've done children's books, we've done a bunch of different things. But for the online course specifically, we'd like to keep it a little bit simple. And so you will be creating your own children's book. So if we go into the overview here, this is going to talk about our faith connection to storytelling, and then what you're going to learn. And then here's all of our different projects, right? So these are all the things that are due, and there you can see the due dates right there. Okay, so let's go back out, and in these particular due dates, like if we go into the first one, for example, well, let's look here first. So here's the Unit 2, our overview we just looked at. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So this talks to us about the steps. So what are the different steps? And I'm going to be doing this again and again. So I'm going to keep reminding you, because this is a project that you're going to continue to refine for 16 weeks. Don't forget, you don't, don't remember, don't forget that you have a lot of time to do this, and you're going to create the story. And then once you create the story will change. You'll kind of refine the story, and you'll keep refining it. And as you get to the end, you'll have refined your characters and refined the story. And honestly, I have to tell you, the final projects are beautiful. And students who've never even used Illustrator before or didn't even know how to draw, they do amazing work. So here are the steps. I want you to read them carefully. And here's our rubric. And what you're going to end up doing, and we have a series of different due dates. There's a little bit more than what I have in here, but it's your brainstorming and concept, your first draft, and then you're going to start building your character, and you'll have a character face, you'll have character bodies, and then you're going to put them into a storyboard, and then we'll have progress reports, and then the final draft. And if you decide we're going to go walk through the steps of you putting it into Amazon or other book printers, and that way you can actually get a printed copy of your book. You do not have to do that for the course, for the online course. For the online course, all you have to do is hand in your final draft with all of your illustrations, and that is your final grade. But I definitely have all the information in there on how to do that. So there's other resources here on careers in writing children's books, and the history of Peter Rabbit, and some other really interesting information. So definitely encourage you to always read through all these overviews and all these projects. So let's go look at the first one. So here's brainstorming and concept outline. So here we go through and say, this is where you would actually upload this. So when you go to upload your project, you would go to submit assignment down here in the corner. But before you do that, you can open this and you can go through the steps. So you have different types of submissions, right? And so in this case, it would be a text submission and most likely a Microsoft Word document. It walks you through, and then there's a little video to watch how to outline a kid's story in 5 minutes, right? So here we have, what's your core concept? What's your hero idea? The conflict that they have, and the target audience, and so on. So just to give you an idea, I had one student years ago, it was a great story. He said, I don't have any ideas. I don't know what to do. I'm just drawing a blank. And I said, well, was there ever a time in your life where you did something, like when you were a kid, that you were a hero? And he said, well, I don't know, maybe. And I said, well, what? And he goes, well, I don't know if it would make a good story. And I said, well, tell me about it. So he proceeds to tell me this story. They had a little cat, and it was kind of a young cat. And the mother said, whatever you do, don't let the door open because the cat will get out. And they had to run to the store, the mom and dad. And they said, we'll be right back. He was about 10 years old. And they said, we'll be right back. Just stay, just hang out here. We'll be back. Don't let the cat out. That was his big job. Well, of course, he goes to go outside, and boom, the cat gets out and climbs up onto a tree and won't come down. No matter what he does, the cat won't come down. And he gets the ladder out of the garage. It's not tall enough, and he doesn't know how he's going to get this cat out of the garage, out of the tree. That ladder's like 6 feet or something. So he's sitting there thinking, like, what is he going to do? What is he going to do? And he gets a chair that doesn't work. All the things, nothing's working. And he starts to think, maybe. So he goes upstairs into his brother's room, who isn't home, by the way, and he gets his mattress and his box spring, and he drags it down the steps, and he puts it next to the tree. Then he goes to his room, and he gets his mattress and his box spring, and he drags them down, and he puts them next to the tree. And then he goes to his parents' room, and he gets their mattress and their box spring. And finally, he gets to make almost like a stair step of mattresses and box springs, and he gets all the way up to the tree, and finally gets onto the branch where the cat is, and the cat comes over, and he's got the cat in his arms. And right at that minute, his parents drive into the driveway, and all of the bedding and mattresses are outside. And he's holding the cat up in the tree. And that's kind of how he ended the story. But it was great because he was the hero and he saved the cat. And of course, he had a little bit of something he had to pay. But that's, it's kind of interesting. The little things that you think might not make a good story can make a wonderful story. And you want to think about age appropriateness, right? And what is the lesson? And so the next one that we have here is character analysis. And so this is where you would talk about your character. And so very simple. This is just, you can go ahead and copy everything I've written here. Your character description, their name, their gender, their physical description, their place of origin, their characteristics, their likes and dislikes, music, whatever. I've had people actually have characters that were circles, squares, and triangles that lived in different cities and they didn't get along. And then finally they did get along, and then a circle married a square, and I think they ended up with octagon baby. But it was, and people, so don't think that you have to be the greatest artisan to be able to make this work. But you want, I don't care where the person or character that you're going to have for your story. I've had people do their pets, aliens from whatever, some game that they had done. Again, you got to think about age appropriateness. But they could be from the planet Xenon or the planet Earth. It doesn't matter because it doesn't cost any more to make an exciting story than it does to make a boring one. So use your imagination. Let it go wild. You'll love, being able to just create your own thing. And then the first draft and character sketches. So this is, now you've created your story and you're going to start making your character sketches, and that will be over here. And here we can see we have a whole story on how to make character heads and the arc of the story and so on. So let's go back again. And then the first character face. Now, this is where you may want to jump ahead and watch this video. So this is a video where I'm actually taking a reference that I found online, and I call her Sheila. And I use Illustrator, and I use all the tools, and I literally create her head, right? And it's a frontal view where I'm, she's facing us. But this is where you're going to do a frontal view. You're going to look for a right view, a left view of the head, a profile view, and the back of the head. And so you're going to go through and do all of these bits, and you'd be surprised. I do the entire head in probably, I forget how long this video, I want to say it's like 20 minutes. Very simple to do once you start just following along with how the videos work. And then after that, you will do the body, and then you will start to do storyboarding. I have all kinds of information here on how to create storyboards. So these are all your drop boxes right here. And what's nice is that if you go back to modules, or to home rather, to the home screen, here's a calendar up at the top. So if you go to the course calendar, and I'm sorry, I'm recording this in July, but let's go take a look. Here's August. There's our first, it tells you by the, your calendar, what is due. So if I go into September, there I can see I have everything due on Sunday night. So by Sunday night at midnight, that's when the due dates are. So you notice that you've got all week to work on something, and then the following week you hand them in, right? So you can work ahead. You don't have to do it when it's due. You can work way ahead, and I can go in and give you feedback, right? And then let's say you decide you want to meet with me. My Zoom address is available in the syllabi. My cell phone, I mean, not my cell phone, but my office phone, which is actually goes to my cell phone. So you can send me a message by email. You can send me a message by the phone, and then we can meet on Zoom one-on-one, and we can work together. So I don't want you to feel that just because this is an online class, that if you need help, you can't call me. Now, we also have a tutor for this class. So that information will also be in the welcome to the course area. So you'll be able to call the ARC, set up an appointment, and you can work with a student that's actually taken the class and created their own book and done all the steps, and will be able to help you at any point that you feel confused. All right. So I've got you covered no matter what. So in the next part of Unit 2B here is Illustrator Basics. So this is a really good, again, overview of tips and tricks. So here's our toolbars. It walks you through every single tool, what they do, and there you can see them and how they're divided. So they're divided by selection tools, by shapes, by drawing tools, by modification tools, by type tools, by navigation, by color, and then here's our fill and our stroke. And again, a lot of this is you're going to see it again and again and again, because I want you to learn this program and be very, very good at this program. It's a very easy program. It looks more complicated than it really is. Sorry, I'm just a little dry here. Excuse me. Okay, so let's go back. Excuse me again. And then the next thing is the workspace. And again, I go through everything as to where things are in the workspace, the properties panel, the context of different things, the status panel. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze again. Maybe not. The control panels up above, or the, so every tool will have like a different set of, panels in it. All of that is explained in depth and great detail. And then the next step is the tutorials. So these are Adobe tutorials, and this goes through everything step by step. So here's, again, me talking about how to use artboards, or no, I believe this is the other faculty member. He's talking about how to use artboards. Here we have how to use type, how to use shapes, how to use multiple shapes, building shapes, how to create different paths. So in Illustrator, we use two terms. We use, like, if it's a line, it's not enclosed, we call that a path. If it's a shape like this, then we call that an object. So you'll hear that again and again. And then we'll talk about how to use color and how to use a stroke and masking. And then I have a little video here on how to do perspective. And so this is the way the course is going to go. Every single step of it has, what you need and how to do it. And then here's creating a skull in Illustrator, designing characters in Illustrator, Illustrator tools explained, like we just looked at that, book character references, so this is all about, again, the same video that I had before. I have it in again, and these are all different references. This is about, this is storyboarding and how that works, why you do it. I mean, I just have so much information. So pretty much that's how it'll work. Remember to kind of stay in, on top of things. All of your assignments, all of your things that you need to do are in here. There's no guesswork, there's no quizzes, there's no papers, and there's no discussion questions. There's just your projects. So it's really about learning the programs. At the end of the day, it's a technology class, but at the end of it, you're going to end up with an awesome book and a really great piece for your portfolio. I really look forward to working with you, and I can't wait to start seeing your work. Thank you so much for being in my class. And again, don't forget, if you have any questions, contact me through the Welcome to the Course.